debacle, whatever, that we just watched with Mississippi State basketball. I mean, I'm kind of at a loss for words right now with what just happened for Mississippi State. They went from winning the ball game by 7 points from a three-pointer by Shaquille Moore to within a couple of minutes later being down by 7. I mean, they were up by 7 points, and they went down by 11 in that ball game late. It was just, I don't really know how to explain what just happened other than this has happened before for Mississippi State under Ben Howland. It's happened this year. They had a lead against Colorado State and blew that game and ended up losing that ball game after having a good lead in the second half. They do it again today, and I can't really explain why that's happening. This was a tailor-made opportunity for Mississippi State to go on the road, get a quad one win in the SEC at Florida, and they blew it. I mean, plain and simple, they blew it. They had the opportunity here to build on their resume and build on a win they just got at Alabama, and they blew it again. I mean, it happens time and time again under Ben Howland. I don't know what is the disconnect here. I don't know why it happens, but it happens. If you guys got some things to say, don't be shy to put it in the comments over there. I'm taking any questions, comments that you guys have. Bring them to me. But basically, the gist of all this for Mississippi State is they come into this ball game fully healthy. Everybody is available. Tolu Smith is in his second ball game. He's been practicing with the team now for over a week. You got everybody that you need. You got the size advantage. All you got to do is come in there and play some good sound basketball against a Florida team that's really outmatched from a size perspective with Castleton out. Their best players out. Top rebounder, top scorer, first team All-SEC, out of the ball game. This is Mississippi State's opportunity to go on the road and get a good win, and they didn't get it. They had a 6-point lead at the half. Thought they played a pretty good first half of basketball. Thought they were maintaining pretty well in the second half. Tolu Smith didn't do anything in the first half, and he comes out in the second half and really starts demanding the ball down low, played well on both sides of the ball, was starting to get Florida in foul trouble. And I thought State was going to be able to kind of pull away because of the size advantage that they had in the post. And they just never could. They got up. The game got to 4 points, and I thought it was a pivotal moment when Shaquille Moore hit a big three-pointer to put State up by 7. But then they come right down the floor. Shaquille Moore gets beat off the dribble on a step back, and Appleby, I think, for Florida, hits a three in his face and gets fouled and got a 4-point play. That was the swing in the ball game. When that play was made by Appleby, it was all downhill from there for Mississippi State. And I think they might have scored maybe 6 more points the rest of the ball game. And that was, let's see when that was actually. That was a huge moment in the game, and State never recovered from that. So let's see, you got the three-pointer by Shaquille Moore, and let's see, trying to find exactly when that was. It was 60. It was 59-53. They went up by 6, I think. Anyway, State went up by 7 points, 6 or 7 points, and then just all of a sudden just absolutely collapsed. And again, you had 2 guys that had their season high against Mississippi State, and Duragee and Appleby. Duragee, 22 points, which might be a career high for him. 6 of 8 shooting, hit 8 of 9 free throws. And then Appleby came out, hit 4 for 9 from 3. Another guy that just went off on State from 3-point range. I mean, we talked about it after the Alabama matchup. Even in that ball game, Alabama did not shoot very well from 3. State was giving up way too many wide-open shots, and they give up 10 of 24 from 3 today. Not terrible, but that's 10 three-pointers is a lot. Mississippi State hit 4 in the game. And, they really slowed down and flat out shut out Iverson Molinar in the second half. And You've got to have other guys step up. Tolu did 17 points in the second half for Tolu. I thought he played pretty well. Shaquille Moore did well enough in the game, 18 points, but that foul obviously was so big for him. So this is just it's a bad loss for Mississippi State, not from a resume perspective. It's not going to kill them. It's a bad loss in the sense that you had an opportunity to go on the road, get another quad one win, get back-to-back, get firmly into the NCAA discussion, and now you're sitting there probably out of you're probably still in the bubble, but you're out of the last four in or whatever that they have, and you have a must-win against Ole Miss. You have to beat Ole Miss, which that was probably going to be the case anyway. And then you got Kentucky and Texas Tech coming up. I mean, there's not a whole lot of wins there that are right there for the taking for Mississippi State. They're just not there. This was a good opportunity. And coming in, I thought this was going to be a really difficult game. I mean, I don't think that it was far-fetched for Mississippi State to lose this game. They were still picked to lose the game coming into the day. It's just the fact that, once again, Mississippi State has an opportunity to get a big win. They bunked that trend against Alabama, and in this game, they went right back to where they were. So I don't know how to get over that, but just looking at some of the comments, Fred's ready for Rick Pitino. Todd, Florida won that game because they wanted it more. We looked like we were at a funeral second half. I agree. I thought after that 4-point play, it just seemed like Mississippi State just had everything drained out of them. And you still had a 3-point lead at that point. You still had an opportunity there to come down the floor, score some points. The offense just completely disappeared down the stretch. There was nothing there for the offense. And I'm not going to blame this on Iverson Molinar or anything like that. I mean, Iverson had done everything he could against Alabama and against Georgia. You can't expect that guy to come out every single night and score 20-plus points. It's just not going to happen. Teams are going to game plan to stop him, so other players have to step up. I mean, looking at this, Anderson Garcia did not have a great game. 1 point in 12 minutes. Cam Matthews, 5 points in 19 minutes. Did have 5 rebounds, but you didn't get a whole lot from him. Rocket Watts didn't provide much, 5 points. Javian Davis didn't provide much. DJ Jeffries, 2 for 6 in 26 minutes. You got 4 points out of him. You got to have more than that. 4 turnovers, too, from DJ. I mean, State's got to have other players step up. That's what's going to make this team competitive down the stretch, and they just didn't have it. Fred said Jeffries doesn't need to start. He's a superstar rent-a-car along with Brooks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the answer is there, but you just didn't get a whole lot from DJ in this one. I think he plays pretty good defense usually. He didn't have a great night tonight. Garcia and Matthews have to be in the game for us to be aggressive. Yeah, and again, they were just okay. I mean, Garcia didn't do a whole lot tonight, but he's usually kind of a spark plug for you. Cam Matthews got some rebounds, but not a whole lot from him either. Todd, not sure we played defense. Whenever we're screened, we did not switch. The defense it just kind of baffles me a little bit for Mississippi State. They're constantly behind the play. They're late getting to the closing in at 3-point range. It's just it's a defense that seems a step behind in this man defense. And Mississippi State, they give up 51% to Florida. That is way too high. That's way too high, 51%. Now, they shot 54 themselves, but you give up 51% shooting, and you give up 10 3-pointers. You give up 24 free throws. The last 2 games, they've given up 58 free throw attempts. They got up a ton against Alabama, and teams are just blistering them from the free throw line. That's 24 extra points. They had 10 extra points on the free throw line, did Florida, and they had 6 more 3-pointers. So, I mean, all that adds up, and then you win the rebounds by 8, but that didn't really factor into the game. I mean, all that stuff, though, adds up. The free throws, those are free opportunities from the line. You're fouling too much, and you're giving up way too many wide-open 3-pointers. They kind of got lucky against Alabama, and that Alabama just wasn't hitting those. But it's just, I don't know what the answer is on the defensive side. Mason, you pretty much nailed it. Every time I start to buy in with this program, they let me down. that's pretty much how it goes. I mean, every time it seems like State is right on the cusp of getting over the top and being a surefire NCAA tournament team or being a potential top 25 team. It seems like almost every single time this happens, they go on the road and they really struggle or something like that. So, I mean, this is just this is another game that I think people were just ready to win this ball game, get to Saturday, have a big crowd at the hump, get some revenge on Ole Miss, and move forward from there. But now you've taken a step back after you just had a huge moment against Alabama. I think fans were ready to jump back on board, and it stinks that it takes State winning a lot of games to get that, but I think you guys are just kind of weathered with this stuff. I think you're tired of the same old, same old. I mean, I can't at this point. I can't really blame people for not wanting to go to these games and watch, because every time it seems like State's on the verge, something like this happens, and people are just tired of that. So I mean, I'm not gonna fault anybody anymore, because it's not going both ways. Mississippi State's not pulling its weight and getting a big win like it needs to. And I hate to put so much pressure on State in this game when you come in and you're already picked to lose this game by 6. But when Castleton was out of the ball game, I thought that was a big opportunity for Mississippi State to step in and win a ball game on the road. You had the size advantage. You had 2 bigs down low, and then some other guys that play bigger, like Cam Matthews, that you should have dominated that ball game inside. And for the most part, pretty much did. They had 34 points to 20. That's a significant advantage, and you had an 8-point rebounding edge. But it felt like that was a game where State should have just really worn Florida down, and I think that 4-point play was really the difference. And it sounds strange because they only made up 1 point difference from 10 seconds before when Shaquille Moore hit the 3-pointer. Shaquille Moore hit the 3, and then they come down and get a point extra back, but it was such a momentum shift after that. Mississippi State was not able to get back in that ball game after that. And it's just sometimes, especially in basketball, when you get on a roll like that, it's really hard to stop that from going downhill. And that's what happened. I think it was an 18-2 run, maybe, for Florida, and that's the ball game. I mean, you very rarely are able to overcome something like that on the road. You might can kind of establish yourself a little bit at home, but when you're on the road and the team goes on an 18-2 run, very rarely can you come out of that. It's just it's kind of a death knell sometimes. And man, it's just, Mississippi State had that 7-point lead, and it's hard to believe that the game played out like that. But then again, I mean, you've seen that before. You've seen it this year, and this is why people are just kind of done with this. Todd Hump would have been packed Saturday with the win. I agree, it would have been packed. I thought that too last week. I said if they won this ball game in Florida, that it would be a huge crowd, and just not going to happen. Fred, would you like to see the seating be changed at the Hump? Yeah, I've been on board with the students going back to the side court for a long time. I think that just changes the atmosphere. Ever since they moved from the side to behind the goals, it just feels like the Hump has not been the same. Even when there's big crowds there, it's not quite the same. When you have those crowds at the side court, the students are right there. It's a great visual, but you're also right on top of the players. I mean, you're right there. And I mean, the students are in a spot too where in the second half the other team is on the other end of the court. So that doesn't really factor into things. So yeah, I mean, I've been on board with that for a long time. I've always thought that the students should be on the side court. Some of the better atmospheres in the SEC are people on the side court like that. And I also think they have to. There's got to be some kind of change with these season tickets. Whoever's sitting on the other side of the court from the camera, the people that are behind the bench and in this middle sections, they're not coming to games. They're never there. So whoever's paying for those tickets, they need to reconfigure something or figure something out, because those people are not coming win or lose. And it's not a good visual on television. And there's a lot of people sitting in the upper deck that you can bring down from the upper deck to sit in those seats to make it look a little better. But I don't know any of the logistics. I mean, I'm just speaking as somebody that's completely ignorant to all that stuff. And there's a lot of things that go into that. And I would like to get to the bottom of it and figure out, what all goes into that. But it just looks bad, and those people I haven't seen those people in those seats for a long time. Ty, what year did the seating change take place? I think it was, I'm trying to think back, 2008 or 2009 was probably when they changed that. Because I was a student when the students were still sitting there at 07, 08, 09, and 010, or not 010, 09 and 10, I think was the first time that they moved students behind the goals. And they had both goals, behind both goals they had students first. And then they moved them all behind that one goal and into the upper deck. And that's where they are right now. And it's just not the same atmosphere that it was back in the 90s and the early to mid 2000s. Just not the same atmosphere. And a lot of that has to do with there's not as many fans coming to games, but a lot of that has to do with just people are not. It's not as fun an atmosphere to be in as it used to be. So they got to figure something else. Jesse, most all schools have students courtside. Yeah, a lot of them do. Florida, you saw them tonight, and there wasn't that many people there, but that's always a good atmosphere because the students are right there below the cameras, and you can see students from one end of the court to the other, and it's just a better atmosphere with that visual, and also it's a more raucous atmosphere when you have students right there on the side court. Auburn does it. Ole Miss does it. I think Ole Miss's atmosphere is significantly better since they did that from what it was at the Tab Pad. They've got a much better gym, of course, but it just feels like that atmosphere is way better because they've put those students right there on the side. I'm trying to think who else. Vanderbilt does that, and they have an interesting atmosphere anyway because they have the court that's elevated above a lot of the people. But then there's a lot of places too that has changed that, like Mississippi State has. LSU has students behind the goals, I believe. And a lot of that goes to trying to make money. I mean, you want to have your big money people, those people want to pay money to have the best seats. And the best seats are center court, side court, and all that. So schools are going that direction and away from the best atmosphere, in my opinion. And I don't know I don't know how to get a happy medium there, but it feels like Mississippi State needs to kind of help jolt that atmosphere a little bit because right now it's lacking. I mean, it's not a great atmosphere. But the other night against Alabama, they showed just how loud that place can get. I mean, it was probably half full maybe against Bama, and it seemed like a really good atmosphere. And I think Saturday you'll still have a solid crowd there. It just won't be nearly as many people as it would have been had they beat Florida. But you guys, I feel like are just kind of hanging on by a thread with this. Fred, if Cohen was smart, he'd hire Rick Pitino. Yeah, I've seen Rick's name thrown out there a few times. He's a good coach. But yeah, I mean, the pressure is most definitely on here for Ben Howland. He's got to start winning down the stretch. That's the bottom line. I feel like this year he has to make the NCAA tournament, and there's still a lot of chances out there for Mississippi State, but losing games like this just does not help. it doesn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't really hurt. Just because it was going to be a quad one win for Mississippi State, but it it doesn't help you at all because you got to win these kind of games to get in the NCAA tournament. You want to build a resume, and Mississippi State only has one quad one win, and that came last week. This would have been number two. Now, that Arkansas win is going to get better because they continue to kind of elevate a little bit. It's a quad two win right now, but you got to win games like this when they're right there for the taking. And Mississippi State again falters down the stretch. I mean, we've seen it time and time again from this team over the years. I think I saw the other day where State has only beaten like maybe 4 or 5 top 25 teams. And I don't have that on me right now to 100% verify. So if I'm wrong, please feel free to call me out. But in 7 years, you got to win more games than that against top 25 teams. Any news on the latest baseball commitment? I haven't seen. I mean, obviously that it looks like that happened while I was doing this live stream. Those things kind of come and go. You never really know what to expect. Let's see. A lot of these guys you don't even really know in baseball. It's just you don't really know when they commit. You have to go look up stuff about them, and they just kind of come out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't see anything yet, but we'll check on that. We'll have some stuff on that later. Fred, how much longer do you think Howland has at State? He's got to win this year, in my opinion, Fred. I feel like this is, if he doesn't get to the NCAA tournament, the pressure is going to be mounting to make a change. I think that feels like that's kind of the ultimatum laid out, at least by people that I trust, is he's got to get there to keep his job. That's what I'm hearing. Todd, didn't Scott Strickland hire Ben Allen? He did. I still remember the day that Rick Ray was let go at Mississippi State. I was on my way to McAllister's to get a sandwich. It was a Saturday, and got a text message from Scott Strickland to the media that they were making a change in basketball, and we needed to be at the Bryan Building to have a roundtable discussion. So the media went to talk to Scott Strickland at the Bryan Building one Saturday afternoon. Some people weren't even in town that day, and we got to kind of hash things out and talk about why he made the decision. And I really felt like when that happened that they had somebody in mind, and literally within minutes of leaving that discussion with Scott Strickland, I was told that Ben Howland was the front runner for the job. So I think what happened was Ben Howland at the time was doing some work with NBC, I think, and had put it out there that he wanted to coach again, and Mississippi State got word, and that's a guy with too good of a track record to turn down for Mississippi State. And listen, he has done a really good job of stabilizing Mississippi State again, making it a job that people would want. He's brought in really good players. He's put players in the NBA. He's made this job a lot cleaner than it was. And what I mean by that is whoever comes in behind him is not going to have to completely rebuild everything. And up until 2 years ago, every year was a step up for Mississippi State. They had 2 seasons where they struggled from a win-loss perspective, but you saw the team get better in year 2 for Ben Howland. And then year 3, I think they might have gone to the NIT. And then you go to the NCAA tournament, feel really good. That next year was the year that's really haunting him, I feel like. Mississippi State was never really in the NCAA tournament. They were on the bubble, even as a top 4 seed in the SEC. And, ultimately, we didn't get to see where they would have gone in the postseason, but it was trending towards NIT had they not won the SEC tournament, and that wasn't good enough for State fans. Last year was a rebuilding season. I think people gave him some credit for that, and they got better as the year went on. But this year, the pressure is on for him to win. He's got enough talent. He's got plenty of talent. He's got SEC Player of the Year type in Iverson Molinar. He's got a double-double machine in Tolu Smith. You got some big-time transfers that came in. Mississippi State's got to win games down the stretch. And if they don't, then that's trouble. Fred, any word on when spring practice will start? I'm not sure. That's usually in I think starting in March. So that I'm not sure the exact date. We'll have to wait and see on that. The spring football game is on Easter weekend, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and they're playing Auburn in baseball. What MSU department handles social media accounts and uploads video on YouTube? Just the athletics. They're all kind of one thing. Yeah, I don't know what, and to be honest, they've been in kind of a state of, they've been in flux with some changes and some of those jobs, and a lot of people have been moving around. So they lost their director of video. They've lost a couple of video people lately. They've lost some creative people lately. So I think right now they're just kind of trying to fill a lot of those roles, from what I understand. So be patient. They probably will have some stuff coming out, especially baseball. It seems to be where they've really done well is in baseball with those videos. And those baseball videos were fantastic last year. You can go to YouTube and watch a special every day on LSU baseball. Yeah, they have a really good video department. I remember a couple years ago with that national championship LSU football team, they were turning out some incredible content. And probably the closest to that was Mississippi State baseball last year. Those videos were awesome, and some of those are still coming out now. But they lost that guy to NC State. I thought he did a fantastic job. But I'd like to see some more of those. State's put out some good ones over the years, and they probably need to get some hype going. If I had to throw out my suggestions too, but heck, I can't do any of those videos, so who am I to say what needs to be done there? If you got any more questions, throw them in. Just wanted to come in here and kind of talk about what we just watched, because that was rough for Mississippi State, and they really needed that one. But you have to win on Saturday. You got to come back home, and you got to beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss looks awful right now. That loss looks awful, to lose to them in Oxford. The only way to offset that a little bit is come back home and win, because that team right now is not good. Jesse, who's our left tackle this fall? I'm leaning towards Percy Lewis. That just came in, and it was huge for Percy to get in the spring. Got 3 years to play, so that's a better deal than most JUCOs to get a kid like that in early. I think that's huge, and you get 3 years out of him. So right now, I think that's probably going to be your left tackle, and he really needs to come in and trim his body down a little bit. But I feel like he has all the makings to be a good left tackle in this offense. And then they got a guy coming in from Middle Tennessee this week, I think, to visit. They're trying to get him in to compete for that right tackle spot. And I think you get another tackle out of the portal like that to compete. And I think you've done a pretty good job on the offensive line this offseason. But it's going to be huge replacing Charles Cross. It's going to be tough. That's going to be a really difficult thing to do for the Bulldogs. But if you can get somebody that come in and be serviceable or a little bit better than serviceable, then you're doing good. Just don't be a turnstile. Mason, what do you think the odds we make the tournament are after the night? They slip when you lose games like this. I mean, they're this isn't going to hurt them to the point where you look back and it's a bad loss. But it's taking away an opportunity to improve your resume. That's what I keep saying. I mean, it's just not. It's not a good loss for Mississippi State. You need to win these games. You have to start stacking wins. Winning on the road in the SEC is huge. This is a quad two. I think that's right. This is a quad two win for Florida, but it would have been a quad one win for Mississippi State because it's on the road. Winning games on the road in the SEC is so valuable, and Mississippi State has not done it so far. They got to win those games. You have to beat teams like this and winnable ball games on the road. You got to take every single one of these you can. And that was a big whiff for Mississippi State tonight. And we'll see what happens. I mean, they have a ton of opportunities out there, but the problem is they're not teams that Mississippi State could match up well against. You got to go on the road to play Alabama. You got to play Arkansas on the road, a team that you've beaten, but they're going to have their best player back that didn't play against them last time. You got to go on the road to LSU. You got to go on the road to Kentucky. I mean, these games are not going to be easy for Mississippi State, and this was not going to be easy for State either, but it was significantly easier with Castleton out. I mean, their best player, their only true threat in the post to be, a great rebounder and a great scorer and do both things. They didn't have a whole lot of guys in the post that could match up to Mississippi State. And it was good for Tolu Smith to come out in the second half and do what he did, but he had 0 points in the first half. You can't really fault him because he had 17 in the second, so it's hard to pin the game on him. But Garrison Brooks, 25 minutes and 2 rebounds, 7 points. I mean, you got to have more from these guys. I mean, there's just not a whole lot outside of Molinar, Moore, and Tolu. Nobody scored over 7 points. So there's got to be other players that when you go on the road and win in the SEC, you're getting it from multiple spots, and Mississippi State didn't get enough. Might have been better if their big center would have played. There's a point to be made there. It definitely changed their style. They came out, and I don't know if they would have been as aggressive on Iverson Molinar, and I don't know if they would have been able to do what they did from three-point range. Because, like I said, it definitely changed their mindset in the game. They were going to probably have some more entry passes to Castleton and work it in the post a little more. But with him out, they kind of had to work the three-point angle, and it worked for them. 10 three-pointers to Mississippi State's 4. Those points add up. Mississippi State lost by 8 points. I mean, that's the game. You had 10 more free throw makes, and you made 6 more threes. And that really kind of added up for the Bulldogs. Fred, do you know football practices every day during the 15 spring practices? I think they spread it out, but I'm not 100% certain. And some coaches do practices differently too, but I do think they have some rules on that as well. Fred, do you think Will Wade will ever get caught by the NCAA? I'm not holding my breath. I don't trust the NCAA to do anything, and especially to the people that kind of thumb their nose at them and don't cooperate as much. I mean, they suspended Will Wade for a few games a couple years ago, and he never really came out and denied anything that happened. He basically just said, I need to be back on the court, and LSU was like, okay, let him back. Said they did an investigation, everything was good. Even though the FBI has tapes with him setting up payments. So, I don't know. It's wait and see for me. I'm not expecting anything. And especially with the way the NCAA seems to be kind of dwindling as far as power is concerned, I'm not expecting anything to come from that. All right, well, again, if you aren't, please subscribe to this channel. I appreciate you guys for stopping in, and talking a little bit. We haven't done this in a while, so I do appreciate that. I appreciate you guys watching this content and humoring me a little bit. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I'm trying to rack up some subscribers, and I appreciate you guys that have done that. We do this, try to do this every now and then. I try to do, if I don't do a live chat, then I do try to give my thoughts every now and then, things like that, just to kind of, hang around here as much as I can. So I appreciate you guys for being on this channel whenever you can, and make sure you are subscribed, because it'll notify you whenever I'm going live or if I have a video posted. And it's not just me talking. I try to get some press conferences on here and all that, so you guys can hear from the coaches and hear from players and things. So it'll keep you up to date with all of that. And don't forget to go over to the 247 Sports and check us out there. We got some great stuff every single day, and we're covering from every angle. We got football recruiting, we got football, baseball, basketball, and baseball is about to kick back up full swing, and we usually have 3 people with games, so we cover from every angle. We try to cover that as thorough as anybody. So come check us out. If you aren't, some of you guys, I recognize your name, and I know you're on our website already. Tell your friends about it. Come subscribe over there at 247. Appreciate you guys. I will be back at some point, maybe this weekend, maybe next week, but we'll be back pretty soon. So subscribe to this channel, share it, and we'll talk to you later. Appreciate y'all, and y'all have a good one.